to College Football on Air. Here it is Monday, November the 4th, and I am Carl Mogline. I am always Carl Mogline. Yes. Alrighty then, tonight's show will be an interesting one as we are going to talk about the Thursday games and maybe beyond. I'm not exactly sure. We're going to talk a little bit about last week, but not that much, because last week was really kind of boring. We're going to talk about the rankings and such, the rankings of the BCS and the AP and all that stuff. We're going to talk about the Davy O'Brien Award semifinalists for Best Quarterback, and some nominations we think are semi-sketchy. We're going to talk about comments made by D'Anthony Thomas, and I'm going to do that all with Jake Liker. But first, I need to tell you what I always tell you. Follow me on social media. Wherever you can, follow me. Follow the show. Follow National Sports. Find me at Twitter at Carl_PM. That is with a K, not a C. Please don't. Just respect the name. Respect it. Then you can find College Football on Air on Facebook. National Sport is on Twitter, Facebook, as well as Instagram. It is, just look it up on all of those. You should be able to find it straight off like that. Also go like Spreaker. And yeah, Spreaker's a great site. We couldn't do it without them. So thank you for that. Now introducing my guest. I don't even know if he counts as a guest anymore. Like, he's always here, and I always do the show with him. But he is technically my guest, which means he gets an introduction. He is someone like no other. He is very exhausted. He does sing in the shower. He's Jake Liker. Jake, welcome on.
Carl, thank you for having me. And also, that introduction sounded like the next Adele hit. So, hopefully Adele's listening somewhere in the London countryside and thinking, you know what, I could really write a song about this. Because that was a terrible British accent. I promise you, my persuasive speaking is better.
So, yes. First off, what?
Hey, I'm a disgruntled Packer fan, and all of you need to know that, and I'm not happy right now. B, Tanner Rookie's Roundup on Facebook. It's a pretty cool show. We took a hit to the ratings last week, but we are planning once more. On Sunday night, we had some pretty great rants. Carl was there, and, because Carl was there, everything was better. I think Noah was there for a little bit too, but yeah, listen, it was a great show. We always have a great show. So on Facebook, like Reviews Roundup.
Yep.
Alright, you may continue.
I may continue, and we are going to start with, I'm just going to talk about, one game from last week, quite honestly, because I don't care that much about last week. Because last week, in all honesty, was pretty boring. That's just a fact. There was very few good games, which means we're going to talk about very few games. I guess that makes sense. Alrighty then. There is truly one game we actually need to talk about from this week. Okay, maybe, yeah, there's just, because, well, yeah, I gotta say, okay, you can look at some other games, but they just don't tell you much. There's not a lot of other good games anywhere, really. Fine, I'll talk about, now that I'm looking over it, I will talk about 3 games. We'll add 2 because I feel like an obligation or something. Alright, number 21, Michigan, number 22, Michigan State. Me and Jake both picked in this game. Jake picking Michigan, I picked Michigan State. Michigan State pulling out the win, 29-6. Michigan State's defense was absolutely suffocating to Devin Gardner and the Maize and Blue as Michigan State just kind of overpowered this Michigan team. And Sparty is looking good as they head into the Big Ten stretch in a very solid position in their division, looking to be able to take on. They'll probably make the conference championship game. That's all I'm going to say. Jake, your opinions.
My opinions, well, thanks, Michigan, for proving me wrong, and Carl gets to have this grin on his face for the next week. This was one of the 2 games we did not have common picks.
Alright, moving on, our next game, this is actually one I got wrong. I picked Texas Tech against number 18, Oklahoma State. This is one that Jake did pick the upset in. I honestly was very shocked by the result in this, but Oklahoma State jumped out early and held on for the victory, 52-34, going into half only up 4, but a 21-7 third quarter put the game out of reach for Texas Tech, as Oklahoma State gave Texas Tech its second straight loss, and Oklahoma State now, with only one loss, looks in very good position to take a run at the Big 12 title if Baylor stumbles. Which I doubt will happen, but we can dream.
Would you like my thoughts on this?
I do want your thoughts on this.
Okay,
That was what the awkward silence was for.
Thank you, Carl. For the past 2 weeks, it's been a pretty bad week for Raiders or really Pirates of any kind. You got the Texas Tech Red Raiders losing back-to-back. The Oakland Raiders got crushed. The Buccaneers lost. The only Pirates that are doing anything successful right now are the ones in Captain Phillips. So...
Actually, there's one more Pirate that's doing pretty bad, because Mike Leach is... Actually, no, I don't even know what Mike Leach is. Is he good or bad right now? Somewhere in the middle.
Let me just say this. Texas Tech, I think reality is catching up to them. Oklahoma State's trying to return to the glory days they once basked in.
Alrighty then, moving on, and that basically brings us to the game I really only needed to talk about. Miami of Florida versus number 3, Florida State. The Noles absolutely crushing Miami, 41-14, a 20-0 in the second half. Florida State kind of putting it on there, making it a little more lopsided than it was. One of the biggest things in this game, though, definitely my favorite part of this. Okay, so this is something I posted as well as on Twitter. So, Jameis Winston had 2 interceptions. That is 2 more than Marcus Mariota has all year. I am done with that random Mariota quip. Talking about this game. Really, it comes down to Florida State's defense was pretty solid, I would say. 275 yards was all that Miami could get out of this. And, again, 83 yards on the ground. Very, very low for Florida State. Their biggest issue may have been penalties. They had 6 penalties for 55 yards. Jake, your thoughts?
Well, you know what? Miami's been struggling to win games for a while now, yet they've been able to pull them out. And again, just like Texas Tech, reality finally caught up with them. This was a chance to, really demand respect from everyone, and yet they couldn't even cover a pretty disrespectful spread. But the guys in Vegas knew what they were doing. Strong case for Florida State, and they are where they deserve to be in the rankings right now at number 2. Very convincingly.
Yeah, Florida State looking very good. We'll get to them more later in our rankings section. Before we get to that, we are going to talk about the Davey O'Brien Award for Best Quarterback. The semifinalists were announced recently, and we are just going to talk about those, the ones we like, the ones we don't like. Actually, we're probably just going to talk about the ones we don't like, and the people we really think should be on this list. Blake Bortles of UCF made the list. Taj Boyd of Clemson, Teddy Bridgewater, Louisville, Derek Carr, Fresno State, Brett Hundley of UCLA, Jordan Lynch, personally one of my favorite quarterbacks in all of football at Northern Illinois, Sean Mannion of Oregon State. Then you got Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M, you got Marcus Mariota of Oregon, A.J. McCarron, Alabama, Zach Mettenberger, LSU, Braxton Miller, Ohio State, Aaron Murray, Georgia, Bryce Petty of Baylor, putting up ridiculous numbers out there, Connor Shaw of South Carolina, Jameis Winston, Florida State. Now that we look at this list, there's a couple guys that you could say are more or less deserving. When you look at some of the stats they put up, there's a couple guys I would like to see maybe on this list instead of some other ones. just some quarterbacks who are putting up bigger numbers. You look at David Fales out at San Jose State. He's gotten over 2,500 yards now, 18 touchdown passes for him, and that's compared to when you look at a quarterback in Blake Bortles, and Bortles has not been. Bortles has been not just outstanding. I don't know how to explain what Bortles has done. He just has not been this game-changing quarterback that I would like to see for these awards that I think maybe David Fales had. When you look at Blake Bortles, he hasn't been bad, of course. I mean, he is nominated for this. But then you look at it, I don't know. He's not my first pick.
I will never understand your borderline obsession with San Jose State. Listen, I don't care if you got 2,500 yards at this point. You're still in San Jose State, and if you look at the guys, I mean, every award is going to have its snubs. But, I mean, let's face it, we know who the real snub is here, and you and I both felt pretty strongly about it. And that would be?
No.
It's your show, and I know.
No, okay. The one we discussed earlier was actually an error by me. Sean Mannion is on the list.
Oh, thank goodness.
We were very worried. We were originally looking at this list, and Sean, I made a gap. There is one quarterback who could be considered for this list that isn't. Another guy who's in the Pac-12. This one's a little sketchier because of the amount of picks he's thrown, because he is up at 9 picks. But Jared Goff has thrown for 2,800. 9 picks. Do you want to know who else has thrown 9 picks, though? Let's see. Who else has thrown 9 picks of the quarterbacks? Let's just go find quarterbacks who have thrown a lot of picks. Let's see. There's a couple with 8. Mettenberger has 7.
What about 9? Tell me about 9.
Well, Mariota has 0, so that's my answer to everything.
Who Carl has 9 picks?
Who has 9 picks? Do you want me to list quarterbacks who have 9 picks?
I do. Quit stalling. Who?
I'm looking it up. Give me some time.
You have 1 minute and 36 seconds.
Oh boy. If you want to know what 1 minute and 36 seconds is, you're gonna have to go watch Rookies Roundup, where I will explain that whole reference and why I'm so pissed off about it.
Next week, live from Green Bay.
Ooh, it's so exciting. Fine. Quarterbacks who have 9.
I can name one. Jared Goff.
Yeah.
There's a reason that he's not on that list. How about
You want to know who else?
Look up on the Wizards semifinal list. Who has 9 picks? Does anyone else have 9 picks?
No, they do not. Let's see. Who has close, though? You gotta look at the number of attempts he's had. He's got 418 attempts. Hundley has 8 picks in 242 attempts. One less pick. Almost 180 less attempts. I mean, that's the type of thing I mean.
Carl, he's a good quarterback, but he is not a semifinalist for a national award this year. I'm sorry. And the win-loss record shows it all.
Alright, whatever. We're gonna... Alright.
I told you all my persuasive speaking was better than my...
Alright, we're gonna move on to the rankings part, which is maybe our most heated section whenever we do this. We like to talk about the BCS and how crazy it is, except when Jake actually agrees with it. It happens. Me and Jake have never agreed on a top 5, and we may never. Until, I don't know, something drastic is going to have to happen if we ever want to agree on a top 5. So we're just going to go straight into breaking down the BCS. I would normally go into the other polls, but really we know right now it's all about the BCS. And that's what we should really be caring about right now. Now, first, you got to look at some differences between the polls. Between the different sections. You look at Alabama is number 1 in both human polls, but they do have the second computer average. Florida State bumped up to the first computer average. Now, it is very interesting that Florida State is number 1 in the computer averages this week. They were first in all but one, which in that one they were 4th. After last week when they were only 1 in a single poll. So that win over Miami, apparently the computers really like Miami. So who knew? This week, the one computer ranking ranks Alabama number 1, but all the rest rank Florida State 1. Although Oregon is 3, the computers, so it's a little interesting there. But then you look at the polls. Florida State did gain considerable ground on Oregon this week. They now have 6 first-place votes in the AP poll. One that doesn't even matter in this, but I do want to talk about that. Oregon only has 2. Of course, here's the thing. Oregon's probably going to jump Florida State after this week if they beat Stanford, because Stanford has the 5th best computer average. So the computers do like Stanford already. Especially there's one computer that likes Oregon the least, is the calling matrix. They have Oregon number 4, while Stanford is number 5 in that. Basically, let's just go top 10. List them. Oklahoma's number 10. They are playing Baylor this week. Then you got Auburn, number 9, 8, Missouri, 7, Clemson, 6, Baylor, behind a 1-loss Stanford, 4, Ohio State, 3, Oregon, who dropped below Florida State in this week, and then you have Alabama sitting at number 1. All right, Jake, any teams you look at and say they're kind of out of place?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think we're at the point where I think this warrants a top 10. Would you agree, Carl?
What team?
No. Like, we should do our top 10 rankings.
Do you really? Oh, fine. Let's go into top 10 then. We are at a point in the year where, okay, top 10 is important. I'm going to say, in the last 2 weeks of the season, we're going to start listing our top 14, because that's where the BCS cutoff is. It's a legitimate point, because that's where the BCS cutoff is. I was looking at ESPN's pick for their BCS bowls, and somehow they decided that Notre Dame should make a BCS bowl, because if they win out, they're going to make it to that. The thing is, Notre Dame's not going to beat Stanford, so we don't have a lot to worry about. And the thing is also, Fresno State is at that 16 spot, where they have to be, as long as they're ahead of one of the AQ champions, but Louisville and UCF are 20 and 21, right on their heels. So that's going to be very close to see if we get a non-AQ bowl contender. All right, Jake, give me your top 10.
All right. At number 10, I am going to put Missouri.
All right, number 10, Missouri.
Number 9 goes to, and this is a tough one because Miami hasn't been very strong with their wins. And I put Missouri at 10. So that really leaves me with Clemson, Auburn, Oklahoma, and Miami. Oklahoma's loss was to Texas. Miami's loss was to Florida State. Clemson's loss was to Florida State. And Auburn's loss was to LSU. So by default, I will put Auburn at number 9, who they lost to number 13 LSU. But I should point out that that was in Death Valley. Number 8 would leave me with, again, still choices between. Oh, and of course, Stanford's in that mix too. And that's where I'm going to put Stanford at number 8. Because I don't like.
All the way at 8.
Excuse me, no. I knew I was forgetting something here. Stanford is a number 10 team.
Stanford's all the way at 10 for you.
Yes.
So you're saying that Stanford is below Auburn, Missouri, both of those teams?
Yeah, but I will put them at 9. I do realize I'm being harsh. But Utah has been subpar lately, so I'm docking them quite a few points for that.
So this is all, for you, this is all about who they lost to, basically. For the one-loss teams, it's all about who you lost to.
Not all about, but that is the main factor here.
Alright.
And, like, of course you have to take into account the strength of their wins, but I still don't. Stanford just hasn't really wowed me, especially losing a game like that to Utah. So that leaves Auburn at number 8. That puts number 7, Miami. Because while their wins haven't been great, again, they've won tough games. The ACC,
Alright, I want to challenge. I'm going to put a quick challenge on you there. You're saying that Miami is a one-loss team that deserves to be there. That would put one of your teams. That means Oklahoma, Auburn, Missouri, Clemson. One of those teams got to be out of the top 10.
Yes, that is correct.
Who-
Oklahoma's not in the top 10.
So you have Oklahoma's not as a top 10 team.
The way they played against Texas is...
So you're taking one game multiple weeks ago as their defining factor and the big factor in putting them out of the top 10.
At this point, yes.
All right. So you're saying the win against Texas Tech obviously doesn't impress you.
Texas Tech hasn't impressed me.
All right. Then the win against Notre Dame, I'm assuming, does not impress you as either. Yeah.
I want to see them beat Baylor.
You want to see them beat Baylor, and you're gonna not put them in the top 10 until they prove themselves, basically what you're saying.
Correct. Absolutely.
All right. Give me a quick rundown. Okay, go top 10 faster now.
Top 10 faster. So, just to recap. Number 10.
You're so slow. Go faster.
Carl, don't need your sass. 7 was Missouri, 9 was Stanford, 8 was Auburn, 7 was Miami, 6 goes to Clemson, 5 goes to Baylor, 4 Ohio State, 3 Oregon, and 2 Florida State.
Wait, so you're flipping Oregon and Florida State again? You're as wishy-washy as the freaking BCS, dude.
What? It's not called wishy-washy. I'm sorry. They beat Clemson and Miami.
But here's the deal. Next week, if Oregon beats... But once Oregon beats Stanford, you're going to probably put Oregon above them, aren't you?
We'll see how they perform.
You rank teams so wishy-washy. Your rankings don't hold at all.
What do you mean wishy-washy?
Like you've changed Oregon and Florida State the same way the BCS changes them.
Exactly, and you want to know why? Because now Florida State has proven themselves more than Oregon. Now it's Oregon's turn to step up. It's not wishy-washy. It's called observation.
So you're basically, hey, so you used to bring up a lot of time with the polls and how you had all these people agreeing with you and like none with me. I'm just gonna say Oregon's number 2 in the polls. I'll just bring that up. My top 10.
By a very narrow margin in both of them. And if you total the first place votes, by the way, Florida State wins that battle 9-7. So.
Alright, let's look at what I think at the top 10. I don't think Miami's a top 10 team. That's just a fact.
No.
Miami's 11. Miami's 11 on my side. Miami is 11 on my side. I put Missouri as my 10 team. Then I think Oklahoma's good. I put them at 9. Then I want to go... I'll go Clemson. It's hard. Jeez. Okay. Okay. Missouri, Oklahoma, Clemson, Stanford, Auburn. Clemson, Stanford, Auburn, Ohio State, Baylor, Florida State, Oregon, Alabama.
Wait. You ranked Alabama number 1.
Oh, shoot. Oregon number 1. Thank you for catching me.
Too late.
No, Jake. No, Jake, this is my show. I can mute you. Jake, I can't hang up on you.
Alabama, number 1.
Oregon is number 1.
Oregon is not number 1.
Never will be number 1. Did you really just say that?
What, did you really just say that Alabama was number 1? Take it back.
Alright, let's go. I put Oregon number 1. I put Oregon number 1 for weeks, so we don't even need to have that debate anymore.
No, I'm sorry. How has Oregon proved themselves to you? What were their best wins?
Alright. Okay, best win, you say like, but I don't care just about their best. It's about the teams. It's about who would win if they played each other. That's the most important factor. Alright. There.
What are you talking about? And otherwise, Wichita State's the 4th best team in college basketball.
It's who would win. I'm not saying who has won. But yeah, by your rankings, those teams who beat one team, it's that by your rankings, upset means so much. Again, it's like I don't rank Stanford so low because of the Utah loss. And it's stuff like that. Also, I want to bring up a legitimate point to you. And I want you to be open-minded about this because I know you're about to shoot this down. Alright. What has Alabama done to prove themselves? Besides Texas A&M.
quiet you. Oh, besides
Texas A&M is 15.
You take away Oregon's strongest win, and they're nothing.
Fine, but tell me okay. Who's Alabama beaten?
Am I right?
Who is Alabama beat? You take away UCLA and Texas A&M. Then you take away those wins. Alabama has Ole Miss, who's proven themselves not worthy.
Let's talk about the final scores of those games, okay? Alabama defeated Colorado State 31-6.
Yes, but that was a close game for way too long.
Quiet, it was 31-6. They shut out Ole Miss 25-0 and sent Hotty Toddy packing. They beat Georgia State 45-3.
That's impressive.
They beat Kentucky in Kentucky 48-7.
Wait, you just said that was... You don't even need to mention Kentucky, because of course they're going to beat Kentucky. Everybody
They
beats them.
shut out Arkansas 52-0, and they beat Tennessee 45-10, who has proven to be on upset alert, and could have at least kept a 3-touchdown game. So that's what they've done.
Alright, here's the thing is, you bring up all those wins, but those aren't worth anything more than, say, Oregon beating Washington. By 3 touchdowns. Then you look at Oregon's lowest point total was 42 versus UCLA. Again, low point totals. The points that have been put on them, a lot of them are fourth quarter points against their third string defense. They still only allow 16.9 points a game, even though a lot of points are coming against a very weak defense because they have their third stringers in.
16.9 points per game.
Yes, because you want to go with Tennessee scored with third stringers in.
I apologize. You're right.
Yes, I have my stats. Give me my stats. That's the thing. You cannot just say Alabama makes it because they did this 2 years ago. Last year doesn't matter this year.
I know, at this point it doesn't.
So you're saying their schedule has been more impressive.
Oregon is 20th in passing yards. They're second in rushing yards, second in points scored, seventh in points against. So let's run those numbers. 20, 2, 2, and 7. By the way, I have not seen the Alabama stats for this, so this could seriously backfire.
It really could. It's gonna backfire on you. You know that, right?
It probably will, considering that sometimes Darren Mason does not show up on paper. Until their voice championship trophy. Let's go.
Jake.
51, 26, 11, 1. Okay? They are allowing. This is insane. They are allowing 9.8 points per game.
Okay.
That is incredible.
Can I just say something about Oregon's points per game? They are a little bloated because they do end up getting scored on in the fourth quarter with third stringers.
I don't care. I really don't care. Because, you want to know what? Even then, they still don't hold the candle. They are averaging single digits. Single digits.
Alright, so Jake, you call me a homer for Oregon. Sometimes I swear you've somehow developed a way to be a homer for Alabama. Because sometimes you act like it.
Against Alabama at all costs, unless they're playing Texas A&M. Or USC.
Or Ole Miss.
No.
Oh, you don't hate Ole Miss anymore?
I still don't like them, but I really don't like Alabama.
I
still like an underdog.
Just so you guys know.
And I'm not going to collectively group that team.
Alright.
Because that's unfair and that's a stereotype. And that would make me no worse than them.
Alright. Even though, you did for a couple shows. But, okay, look at the offense, then. The offense, they don't even have their rushing offense, that's supposed to be their big, most powerful thing, is still 26th.
Carl.
Mm-hmm.
9.8.
Yes, still, but the thing is, that's not... What, that's a touchdown over Oregon's, right?
To be honest, I could just as easily say that Florida State's number 1.
No, Oregon, Florida State, and Alabama. We need to actually look at the stats, because when we end up looking at these teams for, the certain things that we don't need to... We're pulling up Florida State. This is a very interesting show, people, because it's not exactly going as we all planned. But you know what? I think it's better this way.
Okay, if you look at Florida State's schedule, what are they in? Not even close. This is ridiculous. Nevada, 62-7. Bethune-Cookman College.
Florida State has been dominating. That's the fact, too.
In Boston College, who has proven to upset teams or at least cut things very close. They won 48-34. They crushed Maryland when they were ranked 63-0.
Okay, that was it. You cannot say when they were ranked. They're the same team, so saying when they were ranked is...
They beat Clemson in Clemson 51-14. They beat North Carolina State 49-17. And they beat Miami 41-14. No one's held a candle to them.
Alright, yeah, here's the thing, though. And you could say the same thing about Oregon as well. Because nobody's really come close to them.
Girl.
But you can say the same thing, except for the A&M game. You can say a similar thing about Alabama. So
9th in passing yards, 27th in rushing yards, 3rd in points for, 4th in points against. Carl, the numbers are in, and I think I have some switching to do.
So you want to put Florida State 1, but you still want to put Alabama 2.
Absolutely.
So you're putting Florida State 1. Jake, I'm going to applaud you, because you actually looked at it, and now you're going. So, Jake Liker, please give me your top 5 again.
I would like to. You want me to repeat my top 5?
I would like you to repeat your top 5, just for viewers' sake.
Baylor, Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Florida State. And to clarify, if Alabama and Florida State played each other in the national championship game, Alabama would still win.
Okay. Alright. Are you going to switch Oregon up if they beat Stanford?
I need to see what Alabama does against LSU, and I need to see. Well, I mean, Florida State's improving themselves for sure, but they're playing Wake Forest in Wake Forest, who cut it close against Miami in Miami. So I need to collect everything before I just go off making assumptions, because I can't be biased like others. You.
Others, Kafka. See, the thing is, I can't be that biased if my team is number going off AP pool, number 2.
Why? No, they are number 3, as you said yourself. BCS is all that.
Fine, the number 3. If they're number 3, they should be able to. They should be able to. In some games, they're going to be able to beat anybody.
Carl. And can I be quite honest with you?
I would love you to be quite honest with me.
You know how I've been sticking with Stanford or with Oregon for quite some time now? I am very close to swaying to Stanford on this one.
You're close to swaying to Stanford, really? Alright, can you give me your... Okay, we have not started that preview yet, but we're going to talk about that preview. Right, we're going to go... Actually, before we get to that game, we're going to talk about it next week. And to go into the Stanford... Actually, no, we're not doing the Stanford-Oregon game first. There are 2 Thursday night games, and we're going to do one of them first, and that is the Baylor-Oklahoma game. Baylor's offense has been the best in the nation. Bryce Petty has been ridiculous. Lake Seastruck has been pounding the ball, and Baylor's offense, I still believe, is the best offense in the country. They have been almost unbeatable. They had one bad game against Kansas State. They still pulled it off. The thing with this offense is, any team that's going to beat them, they're not going to beat them with defense. They're going to have to beat them by scoring points. And that's the issue with Oklahoma. I don't know if they can put up those points that this Baylor team can put up, because Baylor is just looking like they can put up infinite points by now. I swear if they wanted to, they could probably put up infinite points. Somehow. I have Baylor, and it's all based on a couple of stats, but Keeley, the biggest stat that I look at is they're first in passing yards, 7th in rushing yards, 1st in points for, and they are still 6th in points against. So they do have a relatively high. Of course, these are stats that are bloated because they have been coming out of a semi-weak schedule, and now they head into the hardest part of their schedule because they have Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, TCU, and Texas all in a stretch now. We are really going to see what Baylor's made of, and that all starts against Oklahoma, and I think they win this game. I think they pull it out behind Bryce Petty.
I think that Baylor has been spat on and just flat out disrespected by the BCS, and they finally are going to get a chance to prove the naysayers wrong. this is not going to be a close game at all. They will beat Oklahoma when this game is done with. It will be done out of mercy for all viewers. And that's probably for the better because we will be able to switch our channel to Oregon Stanford.
Yeah.
This is not a close game. The only real winners here in this game besides Baylor is Fox Sports 1 because this is the biggest game they'll ever have.
Baylor is actually a good team. Baylor will make a major BCS bowl this year because they're going to win the Big 12.
Let me tell you something. It is very possible that Baylor makes the national championship game.
Baylor makes the national championship. All they need is a couple teams. All they need. Oregon. Here's the thing, because if Oregon
played Oregon, it would be probably the best thing to happen to college football.
Baylor Oregon would be an amazing game because here, Florida State. It's hard to see them losing, but it could happen. So say Florida State Alabama loses, because you actually have Alabama losing it. Am I correct on that? In the future, I believe you said Auburn, correct?
Yes.
All right. So I mean, yeah. If you say they lose to Auburn, and then you have say Florida State randomly loses, we're all shocked by it, but they lose somehow. I don't see it happening, but it could happen. Oregon Baylor as a national championship game.
I mean,
Plus,
that is a true grand finale for the BCS.
Plus all the storylines with Lake Seastruck. He was a former Oregon commit and left them in the sanctions of the Will Lyles thing. That storyline underlying with it. Then you have the two best offenses in college football today. That would be a ridiculously good.
That, my friend, is ratings dynamite.
Well, it's
seriously, if they threw in Catherine Webb, I think the whole world would explode.
So yeah, okay. Now we move to the Oregon game, and before this game, I would like to bring up a quote by a player named D'Anthony Thomas. We all know him. We are all familiar with D'Anthony Thomas, and I need to bring up a thing he said because I am very disappointed with a quote from him. Basically, what he said was that basically, yeah, he said that Oregon should, and I quote, this is what he said: I feel like this team, we should at least put up 40. This is in regards to Stanford. This is a very interesting idea, as they're going against a Stanford defense that is one of the best in the nation, and last year held them to a season-low 14 points. It's very hard to see them putting up 40 on a team like Stanford when you look at Stanford's games. And you look at how they've done against teams that were so-called offensive, juggernauts. Or, anything close to it. The way they held UCLA scoreless for an entire half. Their points against are only 19.4, but that really doesn't show what the team is. That's one of those kind of bloated stats when you look at it. Because really, they don't allow a lot of points. They held Oregon State's offense with Sean Mannion, who throws ridiculous amounts of yards. They held them to 12 points. When they need to, they hold these teams down in scoring. So, in my opinion, 40 is never going to happen. But I do think Oregon's going to win this game. And the biggest issue is that Stanford's offense has been pretty much stalling the last few weeks. In a way. They put 20 on Oregon State. They've only put 24 on UCLA, 3 in the first half. These are the things that worry me. And that is why I think Oregon wins. I don't think Oregon puts up more than 30. 30 at the very, very top end of it. I see them putting maybe 31. 31 is where I see this. I see this game being a 31 to 21. That's my final score.
I think it's reasonable. If Stanford wants to win this game, they have to win it at the line. It is so obvious at this point that you're not going to win in a shootout against Oregon. No one is. I don't care who you are.
Not even
I
Baylor.
don't care where you are. Unless you are Baylor in Waco.
That would be a great shootout.
Yeah. You know, it would be an even better shootout if it was in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl in the national championship game. But again, we've been over this.
Yes, we have.
But yeah, Stanford. If Stanford wants to win this game, they're gonna have to win it at the line. They're gonna have to pound the rock. They're gonna have to make sure that their quarterback does not get sacked, and they're gonna have to start putting pressure on Mariota. They have to contain him in the pocket. They cannot let him scramble, and they cannot miss tackles because there's so little margin of error when you're playing against Oregon because Stanford's offense has just failed to impress me for quite some time. I have to pick Oregon. And I don't like picking Oregon on this one, but I'm picking Oregon. I will say the Ducks win 28-24, not as close as the score on Blast.
Alright, so 28, so 4, wait, what did you say? 28 to 24?
Actually, no, I'm going to say 28-23. Because
so 5
if
points.
If a touchdown, they'd fail a 2-point conversion. So yes, 28-23. Oregon versus
28-23. Well then, 28. Okay, so a 5-point game, a pretty similar scores. I have them Oregon putting up another field goal. He's got them Stanford putting up a few more points. Similarly, we both think Oregon wins this, but not by a ton. I was reading around and I had seen a couple things. I had seen somebody say basically that this game is going to turn into the UCLA game for Oregon. They're going to, be close and they're going to shoot off. I don't see that happening. Here. So those are our games for this game, but it's going to be hard for us to get a show in later this week. So we're going to finish out the picks for the rest of the week. But we're not picking all the games. We're just going to be picking a couple games on next week. Because, well, we really are running kind of low on time. It is at 42 minutes. We're just going to have the one show this week. The 2-show system is not going to be going this week. As much as I would love it to, we have had some conflicts, and therefore that system will not be running for this week. But that's okay. We'll live and we will pick the games. We've already talked about the Thursday games. Oregon and Baylor, we agree on that. We are just going to talk about a few games. We will talk about LSU, Alabama. We will be talking about UCLA, Arizona. And then I don't see a lot of games to talk about because that Thursday is really taking most of the load, and then the Alabama game is the big one. But a very big implications in the Pac-12 South race. You look at UCLA, Arizona. I see UCLA pulling this one out over Arizona. They really haven't impressed me a lot so far, but they are both 3-2. And if UCLA does lose this one, they will be almost completely out of the Pac-12 South race.
I think I've watched UCLA very closely. I've been disappointed by them. I think that they're making too many mistakes. I think their defense is stellar, but their offense has been a big disappointment. Their struggles in the offensive line are really showing. And to be honest, I'm not going to be surprised if Arizona wins this game.
I'm not saying I'm surprised. I just see them winning. Alright, another random game with odd implications. Okay, a game with BCS implications is UCF.
Will win that game. Okay, go on.
A game with UCF, who's 21st ranked, and Houston. Because Houston's 4-0. And if Houston wins this game, they may take the American Athletic, but they won't be ranked in the BCS, most likely, and therefore giving the gate for either Northern Illinois or Fresno State. I hope Northern Illinois makes a BCS bowl. I really do.
I'd love it.
Jordan Lynch, as I've said, is one of my favorite quarterbacks.
You know what? I'm telling you, if the Packers were to draft, if for some reason what we saw tonight was career-ending injury for Aaron Rodgers, God forbid, and that is not the case.
Knock on wood.
Hypothetically speaking, I would take Jordan Lynch.
Really?
That's how highly I think of him.
But he doesn't work in your system. That's okay. Let's go. We don't really have to talk about a lot of these games, because honestly, I don't need to talk about Kansas, Oklahoma State. Because that's kind of obvious. Auburn won't lose to Tennessee. Tennessee's not even going to be near to them. But, Jake, do you believe differently?
Let me tell learn you something, Carl.
Let me learn you something. Did you just say that?
Your
grammar is failing you.
You know what? After you mocked my vernacular, I figured I might have to step it down. Is that okay with you?
I love your vernacular. I really do, Jake. So
that's right, be grateful, because it might not be around forever. Just kidding, it will be. This could be a very close game. And I don't want to, because part of me is really rooting for Robert. I think Tennessee's going to win this game.
I think that's never going to happen. There we go. Then we have to talk about the most important game of the night. Of Saturday. Not, all the weekends, because we all know the most important games of the weekend. The most important game of the weekend, LSU goes to Alabama. LSU has 2 losses already to Georgia, and as well as a really shocking one to Ole Miss. With this game, this is basically for LSU's season. LSU, they're kind of playing for a BCS Bowl, but it's kind of out of reach. They need this win. If this win is kind of their big thing, because they want to knock Alabama off that pedestal. Because LSU hates seeing Alabama succeed. Just because LSU seems to almost be like their little brother in the SEC right now. It just is not very happy. Your pick. You take Alabama or LSU?
If this game was in Death Valley, we'd be looking at a different story, and we would be looking at a game of the ages and a defining moment in Zach Mettenberger's career. But to come in to Tuscaloosa, expect to roll over the Tide, that's not how it works. The Tide roll over you. Roll Tide, Bama wins again.
I am going to have my big upset pick of the week. I got LSU taking down Alabama. I think Mettenberger is a better QB than McCarron, and that Alabama secondary was ripped up by the draft. I think LSU takes it out. I think LSU takes them out because LSU's defense is better than A&M's by a long shot, and LSU's offense can put up at least 30 on Alabama.
On Alabama?
LSU will put up 30 on Alabama.
Are completely disrespecting that defense. That's like
30.
Saying that Jim Boeheim's 2-3 zone is okay. The Alabama's defense is a force to be reckoned with, and you're going to need a little something extra if you want to beat them. Whether that's motivation, whether that's home field advantage, whether that's flat out desperation. They don't have any of that going for LSU, except for maybe a little bit of that desperation part. I'm sorry, Carl, but you have your head in the clouds.
Well, guess what? I really don't. I'm just looking at they've let 42 points to A&M. Don't.
Carl, that's Johnny Manziel.
Yes.
I know Johnny Manziel.
Yeah,
Is a cut above.
I'm not saying that they're going to score 42. I'm saying they're going to put up at least 30. And I don't think Alabama can put up 30 on LSU's defense. And that's Alabama. I don't think home field advantage is worth as much as you do.
In college, when it comes to big games, when you need to pull off an upset, it absolutely does. These are still young kids. Momentum, any edge they can get in fan support.
Yeah, but any edge isn't worth 17 points. Any edge is worth a field goal. And this game will be a touchdown game. I see LSU pulling out the victory 31-24.
Disrespectful. And while I am eating pizza with hopefully fresh Wisconsin cheese and watching LSU Alabama, I will be laughing all the way to the plane ride home. It's actually funny. This is going to be the second year in a row I'm going to be in Green Bay, and LSU will be playing Alabama, and UCLA will be playing Arizona.
Well, they play on the same weekend. How interesting. The game against Stanford last year, I remember I was flying to Virginia, right near Washington, D.C., to see my grandparents. I fell asleep while watching Oregon midway through, and I woke up the next morning to my mom and grandma asking if I knew what happened.
You deserved to lose.
I was I was jet lagged. I had just flown 8 hours.
Fall asleep while watching Oregon, if you can't fall asleep while watching football, and if you are, the last team you should fall asleep watching, besides Baylor, is Oregon.
No, the only reason they only put up 14 points, dude.
Because Stanford was lights out, and clearly so were you.
Yeah, obviously. No, that was one of my most disappointing losses. Not as disappointing as the national championship game. That was not happy after that one. But yeah. Also, my least favorite thing about college football, the national championship game is a freaking Monday. Why a Monday? Why? It just kind of...
Put it on Saturday night. That's when the big games are. You know, that's like if they had the Super Bowl on Saturday.
That's like if they had Super Bowl Tuesday. Just be weird.
I'd love that, because that would be a national holiday.
No, it wouldn't, though.
Yeah, it absolutely would. Did you know what percentage of Americans watch the Super Bowl?
I believe it's over 50%.
It's a high percentage.
It's like 80% or something like that. Something up there. It's high up there. Well, we are getting into really random stuff, and we are at 51 minutes and 15 seconds.
Speaking of really random, Capital One Mascot Challenge.
Of course, Capital One Mascot Challenge. Our favorite thing about college football on air is the Capital One Mascot Challenge. And we're going to talk about the standings in the Capital One Mascot Challenge and tell you who you have to vote for. We're not giving you a choice, but we will reveal that in a second. Shh, Jake, don't reveal spoilers.
It's not a spoiler for anyone who's listening. This is for the true fans out there.
Yes, it is. So, as we pull up the standings, we will... Wait, see, my computer's being slow now. Jake, do you have the standings up?
I am pulling them up right now.
You're slow, but my computer's slower, so...
I'm sorry, Google, is not being cooperative.
Yeah, it's really hard to actually pull it up.
So, let the good times roll, Rocky the Bull, continuing to rock the boat up, and the University of South Florida. That's a lot of talent down there in South Beach. They are 9-0, with a slight edge over second place Sparty at Michigan State at 81. And that impresses me because in the past, you look at big schools don't tend to do well with these, and they feel...
Cough. Look at the bottom of the standings.
It's true. Oregon's near the bottom, as is Arizona, LSU, Kansas, Wisconsin. So, I'm impressed with Michigan State. I am
I gotta say, I've been following the Capital One Mascot Challenge for a few years now. Oregon used to actually do pretty well, but apparently they got so tired of having them. Because Oregon has been in it every single year they do it. And this year they're doing just terrible. I gotta say, Big Red is at 5-4. Big Red of Western Kentucky is at 5-4. Just go vote for him. I have now voted for him 7 times during the last 2 minutes, during the last 30 seconds. Go vote, and then vote again, and then vote again.
He's going up against Rocky the Rocket at the University of Toledo, and we have some great news. It's even better than that Rocky the Rocket pun. Big Red is up 61 to 39%, which is fantastic.
Yes, and if you...
Other teams have a chance to maybe shake things up. Hokie Bird out of Virginia Tech at 7-2, as well as Raider Red out of Texas Tech University, both at 7-2 each. And at this point, it's really a Hail Mary for Petey the Pirate of Eastern Carolina and Monty from the University of Montana, each at 6-3. But, Big Red's just really hoping for bowl contention at this point.
Well, here's the thing with this system, though. They do go into a playoff bracket at the end of the year. At the end of the weeks. You can, when you go look at how they go with that, so you have, with the regular season, there's a very simple 12-week regular season before we go into the final 3 weeks is playoffs. And Big Red right now is 8th, so he needs your guys' support right now. Because without your support, he may not even make the playoffs, which would be just a shame for such an amazing mascot.
Also, they will give you an option for a write-in vote. I need you guys to vote in Joe Gruden of UCLA. We could do this year. Because here's the thing, it'd be a nice little gift for Josephine. Yeah, Joe's got a wife. And you know how women can be. So, if you want to help Joe out and keep that marriage afloat, I suggest you put them in. Otherwise, the marriage counselor will blame you.
That was a very interesting point about mascot love. I said points, not threat. You know who I'm gonna say root for? You know who you guys all need to root for? The Golden Gopher out at Minnesota.
What about Sebastian the Ibis? Miami.
Ooh, that's a pretty good one. Miami's got a good one. Minnesota's got a good one. Please get rid of the duck. It's too sad watching him there.
Wait, you can vote for Louisiana Lafayette Rage Cajuns.
Probably because they don't actually have a real mascot.
No, you can.
You can?
Yes.
Okay, go vote for Louisiana Lafayette. That's what you should be doing.
Look up what their actual mascot is.
I am doing the exact same thing right now.
Oh my god, that thing is terrifying. These national recognition. What is that thing?
We are having a very interesting show now because we are at 56 minutes and 15 seconds. This is wow, that's special. Their mascot is basically a pepper who grew arms, who's flaming.
Not have sunscreen.
Apparently not, because he is on fire.
It's like Ron Weasley got a sunburn and is blushing.
It's pretty scary.
That's terrifying.
Scary. He needs national recognition, people. Go vote him in, because he deserves it.
One big pot of gumbo.
But, again, go vote for Big Red, because he deserves it even more. More than any mascot I have ever met.
How many mascots have you met?
Not that many. Okay, more than any mascot I've ever seen, Big Red deserves to win. You gotta agree with me on that one.
You know what mascot is actually terrifying? Like, gave me nightmares?
Pelican?
I remember when yes and no didn't give me nightmares, surprisingly. When UCLA was in the Sweet 16 one year, I believe it was in Sacramento, one of the other teams there was Southern Illinois Salute Dogs. That thing is terrifying. Southern Illinois.
These are the things that scare Jake Laker. Southern Illinois things. Other things about us and mascots. Let's see.
Oh my god, that thing is terrifying.
If you really want to know these things, go look them up. And, I would say a show needs to go an hour, but we are pretty much done. It's been 57 minutes, 55 seconds now, and, this is College Football on Air. Go find us on Facebook at College Football on Air on Facebook. It's not that difficult. Go find me on Twitter at Carl_PM. I tweet random stuff about stuff. It's not that special, but it's really awesome. That's a weird point. Other than that, that is basically all I have to say. This has been College Football on Air. Please share the show if you like it, and come back sometime to National Sports and listen to the other shows. Listen to this show again next week because it'll be on sometime, and it may be on Friday. I'm not actually sure. I may have a recap show of the Oregon game, because I can. And Jake may or may not be there. I just like talking about football on things. Go to the MLBNation.com. I write for them. They have a lot of cool stuff. And they actually write MLB stuff a lot during a non-MLB season, unlike sites like ESPN's, which kind of get neglected once they get to this part of the off-season. That is what I have to say. So, it's been 59 minutes. This has been College Football on Air. Along with Jake Laker, I am Carl Mogline. I will see you the next time I get on this. So, you know what? Have a nice night.